Hi, everyone, and welcome to Thursdays at the Museum. I'm Amanda Harrison, a community engagement manager with the Detroit Institute of Arts. And I'd like to apologize for getting started a little bit later than we normally would like to today. We're having some technical difficulties backstage. So, our artist, Shirley Woodson, is joining us today. She won't be on camera, but we are so lucky to have her with us to be talking about her solo exhibition, Shield of the Nile Reflections, open at the DIA right now with our highly trained docents and today's hosts, Pamela May and Ray Henney. Shirley Woodson is a renowned Detroit artist, educator, and advocate. She's going to discuss her exhibition and her different artwork. Her art is vibrant. It has dreamlike paintings of black bathers in rivers, honoring the myth that the Nile holds transformative and nurturing benefits for people of African descent. In this series, Woodson's bathers appear with a distinctive visual vocabulary of human and animal life that symbolizes the historic, spiritual, and cultural significance of the river. Throughout the program, we want to take your questions too. So, Christine Mark, the DIA's manager of volunteer development, is here to take those questions and concerns that you have throughout the program. So, without further ado, I want to hand it over to our hosts, Ray Henney and Pamela May, to welcome artist Shirley Woodson. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
We're so excited. Hello, Pamela.
Hello, Ray. How are you today?
Good, thank you. And we are so delighted to be able to have this chat with Ms. Woodson. Ms. Woodson, I'm hoping you can hear us. I know we've been having some technical difficulty. I'm not sure where she's hearing us. Well, Pamela, let's try to introduce people to the exhibition the best way we can. And I'm hoping backstage they'll be able to get Ms. Woodson with us. You'll all have to bear with us. Pamela and I have been very excited about asking so many questions about this wonderful exhibition. So, uh, Ms. Woodson has been an extraordinary influence in Detroit,
Here I am.
in the public schools.
Hi, not able
Hi.
to speak on camera.
Well, I didn't hear any.
Oh, they're trying to fix the technical difficulty. Hopefully, then we'll have her in just a moment. In any event, she has been a force in the public schools of Detroit and the community with respect to an advocate for art, particularly Black art, as far as education and as far as appreciation. She has been doing this for 60 years and has tremendous impact on the community. In fact, her exhibition, which is just off Rivera Court, and us docents frequently are in Rivera Court, see people coming in and out, and they have to share the impact that not only the exhibition has, but clearly Miss Woodson has had to the community. So she really is a gem of the city. And I, I give you some more background until I understand that Miss Woodson's going to join us. So,
Yes.
Miss, oh,
Can you hear me?
yes, Miss Woodson, are you
Clearly.
there?
Okay. Yes, I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm
Okay,
sorry. Yes,
fantastic.
Miss May. I right. Miss May is here. I did not hear a question. I didn't know if there was a question that
I'm
she
just
had
about to
asked.
I'm just about to give you a question. This is Ray Henney.
Okay.
Uh, yeah,
All
no,
right.
we're well,
Okay.
I'm glad we have you here. So I read, Ms. Woodson, that when you were a teenager, you would visit the DIA every time you could. And I guess it must be special to have your own solo exhibition at the DIA finally.
Well, it's a tremendous experience, and I never in my wildest dreams did I ever know that this would happen, so, or really dream about it. But at any rate, I am, really ecstatic about the show and, being in the Detroit Institute of Arts.
Well, it's really wonderful to have the exhibition. You've had such a long and wonderful career, and you've made so many different works in so many different mediums, in painting, collage, with many different styles. In fact, we have up on the screen right now, Ms. Woodson, one of your works that's in the DIA's collection that's not in the exhibition. I'm showing it to show an example of your different styles. It's the Crown of Fire from 1995. Could we go to the next slide, please, Kathleen? These are images of paintings in the exhibition, which are distinctly different style than the Crown of Fire that we were just showing, and so many of your other works. Why did you select the 11 paintings from the Shield of the Nile series for the exhibition, from all your many, many works over the years?
Well, I worked with the curator, Valerie Mercer, who essentially, um, visited the studio, and we had discussions about my work. And basically, these were the selections and that she made. She found a thread that she felt was connecting um, that work, my current work, um, with work that I've been a part of over the years. The oldest one being in 1984 up to 2014. So it was interesting working with her on that, and we discussed many aspects of the painting and the concept of water, um, and the monumentality really of nature, and that these were some of the things that I found myself wanting to express my ideas through. So there were other questions that I know we talked earlier, or people have posed, relative to, why the Nile, because it's recognized by everyone in the world. I mean, it is it's has so many histories, and so much relative to, um, evolution and, as you spoke earlier, spirituality, and all of those things that connect us. And so, in doing, these paintings through the years, um, we thought that this would be a good group, good selection for people to see and have questions about and enjoy.
Well, it's certainly something that we've enjoyed, and we do have some questions. And you've alluded to many of the themes that we'd like to explore a little bit. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about, Ms. Woodson, is your influences. Here we have in these paintings a combination of figurative, abstract. Could you go back, um, Kathleen? Thank you. We have a combination of figurative and abstraction done with these remarkably bright colors. The first question I have is about abstraction in these paintings. I understand that during your education as an art student at Wayne State University, you confirmed your real interest and attraction to abstract art. And I wonder if you could express to us what attracted to you that style of art.
Well, that was a style that was trending at that time. That was the, you know, during the early 60s, we were between abstract expressionism, sort of post-war art or post-Second World War art. And this is what was being shown in galleries and museums. And I felt that I was very excited about that. And so that was a venture that I wanted to take. Is it possible to go back a couple of screens? Is that
Sure.
possible? I wanted another one. Yes, the work that I am doing, this is recently, um, the work that shows me painting at my easel, um, to the right, it's not up
Yeah.
yet. Yes, that is how I begin my paintings. I begin, I have sort of a color field that I do not start on a white canvas. I mean, the canvas is white before I put anything on it, but I put down bright colors before I really decide on my subject or the subject matter. Because as I put a color down, as I begin painting, I want to react to another color rather than have a concept of covering up the white to start or using the white as a ground as my beginning. So whatever the brightness of my palette on the paintings that you see, uh, they're all in response to a totally brilliant color of ground color. Sometimes it's a solid color, sometimes it's all red, sometimes it's all yellow. But I found that I enjoy responding to color rather than a bare canvas. So that might be a clue as to, you know, as you're looking at the work, to know that I'm actually building on color rather than, you know, the way you would start a drawing. And so the artists that were, I mean, I came to that method over time. I didn't sort of one that I taught myself, but so the idea of abstraction really comes early on, even when I'm preparing the canvas for, you know, for the subject matter. I just wanted to point that out
Well, I think that's
because you
fascinating
had
because
that.
it is not the traditional method that uh, one would typically expect from starting a painting, and so that is interesting, and it does inform the wonderful hot palette that I'm going to be asking you about in a little bit. Um, Ms. Woodson,
Okay,
I know
that was,
I yeah, no, that was terrific. Actually, it leads to another question about I know you were an avid student in general, but an avid art and art history student. And I'm wondering if those studies influenced this development of this style or approach you have in the paintings in the exhibition.
you're wondering what?
Yeah, I'm wondering if your education in art history, in the Western tradition of composition building, I'm wondering if that has any influence, or is that something that you wanted to break away from?
I, I think each artist makes that decision. I don't know if, that was necessarily influential. As I said, I came on that way of applying paint, over, with experience and all. But I know that it's as though we also learn that it's like we learned in sculpture that the form is, if you're doing a carving, the form is inside that marble, or the form is inside that large piece of wood that you're carving, and you go in and you carve it out and you find it. And to me, it was the same in working on a canvas, that once I put my initial ground or color on, that the work was in there, my subject was in there, and part of my challenge as an artist is to go in and develop and find that form, find those relationships. And so it's a very active, kind of engagement.
It's as though you were discovering it. Am I saying that right? It's though that this is on the canvas, but obviously in you, and you're discovering it as you create the painting. That's very interesting, very fascinating. It must be an extremely rewarding way to paint, because at the end you find out about your expressiveness and something about yourself, I guess. Are you there, Miss Woodson? Oh, that's too bad. Ah, it was so interesting. Hopefully we'll get her back. Oh, here she comes. I hope you all be patient with us. Unfortunately, today we're having unusual technical difficulties. Miss Woodson? Miss Woodson?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, great. I was going to ask you next about the artist who inspired you. The artist that most inspired you. Miss Woodson?
The colors?
No, what artist, when you were developing your styles
Yes,
and through
I
the
had
years? Yeah, what artist inspired you?
I was inspired early on by Bob Thompson. Um, I was inspired by Romare Bearden. I was inspired by Mary Lovelace O'Neill, um, Jacob Lawrence, his brilliance in design. Um, many, many colorists, Paul Klee in school, his paintings were incredibly, uh, they were wonderful. And so these were, new artists who I was discovering at
And
that time.
many of those are colorists who use vivid colors and sometimes simple shapes to express
Oh, yes.
their meaning. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
So, and
watercolor, right. Yeah, Raoul Dufy, yes, where Dufy would paint a whole canvas one color and then draw with the paint into the interior and build the interior in that way. So many artists start with, sort of a brilliant ground or background, if you want to say that, and then find the forms within that color.
we've been putting up two artists.
And so those were the kinds of, yeah.
And we understand that Larry Rivers and Robert Rauschenberg.
Oh, yes, Larry Rivers. Yeah, yes, those would be two others that were very influential. I love the way that Larry Rivers, I loved his drawing and the way he drew into the paintings. I mean, I really enjoyed seeing his work.
And Robert Rauschenberg, obviously, his colors and
Someone.
You can see obviously.
Yes, and the way that he put things that didn't seem to relate together. The way he would take things that seemed to not relate to each other and build his compositions.
So let's take a look at the first painting in the exhibition. Could we? Ms. Woodson, we're showing you when you were on the CBS News Sunday morning talking about the exhibition, and in front of the first work that you see, which is the Shield of the Nile. And this picture really shows how wonderfully large and colorful and how it dominates that particular room. Could you go to the next slide, please? So you began to explain, oh, she's joining us again. I hope the viewers will be patient with us. It's certainly wonderful to hear what she has to say. She's so eloquent and so technically outstanding in her art. Can you hear me, Ms. Woodson? Ms. Woodson? Well, I think I am going to hope she joins us soon and maybe discuss. Oh, there you are. So we have up the Shield of the Nile, and it's a very large painting, beautiful painting. And I wanted to ask you about the name. You referenced before about the Nile and the spiritual content of the Nile, but why the shield? What is the significance of the shield? I think we don't have her again. And I have to apologize to our viewers. I do know that the concept of the Nile and the spiritual nature of the Nile is what was motivating Ms. Woodson. And as she tries to get back, hopefully we can get an answer to that. I also know that she's tied in ancient images, ancient Egyptian images into this particular painting. And that's important. So you can see a sarcophagus, that red sarcophagus, and also a portion of a pyramid. And those are symbols of ancient Egypt. And at a time when, a time about heritage, particularly Black heritage, there was a movement. I'm hoping Ms. Woodson will be able to join us. There was a real recognition in the late 60s that rather than trying to, just talk about the suffering of African Americans in the American experience, to harken back to the heritage of Blacks in ancient times, because that was a time in which they were heralded and it's honored, and so it's more of a positive message than some of the other Black artists were at the time. The other influence with respect to why Egypt and the Egyptian art was because of this and I'm so sorry that we can't hear her talk about it, but this idea of race memory that influences all the paintings in the exhibition. Uh,
Here,
oh, you're back?
I
Good.
would like to talk.
I'm sorry you're breaking up. I'm hoping that you'll. Technology. I would really, and hopefully we'll be able to get Ms. Woodson on so we can talk about that influence of race memory, of these objects that really are a part of consciousness, a part of the Black consciousness. Um, the CEO of the Kresge Foundation, in the publication that they issued because Miss Woodson was the eminent artist for 2021, and the CEO wrote about her, quote, "She leads us both gently and forcefully into the world of her vibrant color palette with imagery that flows particularly and unapologetically from the African American experience to speak to the world." And I think that's a wonderful quote about how Ms. Woodson's art impacts and can be expressive with respect to so many concepts about spirituality and the Black identity. There are a lot of different figures. Could you go to the next slide, Kathleen? There are a lot of different figures here, and rather than trying to fill in the information without Ms. Woodson being here, I want to point out various really interesting aspects to this painting, which are messages. The first is that you have, we talked about the sarcophagus, and then we talked about the pyramid, but you also have these iconic figures that she uses over and over again. You have that horse that seems to be leaping in the air. Then you have this person that's in this blue that's holding the shield. And then, right. And then you have that person there. This is a mask. There's the person who's um, doing clothes in the Nile. The person that's under the shield there, Kathleen. You also have this real interesting aspect that none of the figures, Pamela, none of the faces have any features. And it's really kind of an interesting technique. Does it make you want to identify or fill yourself in a little bit as to, or fill in who that might be? Go ahead.
I remember reading that Miss Woodson, and I don't want to speak for her, said that the reason why she didn't put features on some of the images is that because she wanted to engage the viewer. She wanted the viewer to see themselves in the image. So, yes.
And I think that the next one, when we get to it, it really invites one in to do that. But she has these icons, symbols of the water, symbols of, like the horse has so many different kinds of symbols with respect to nature, with respect to freedom, with respect to different kinds of iconography that someone could have in viewing these various images. And the seashell is particularly important. There's one at the bottom right here, but we'll be seeing that theme over and over again. And it's an interesting image that she's trying to communicate with the seashell. I also wanted to explore with her these vivid colors. I mean, these are amazingly vivid colors, and she was giving us a taste of that with respect to how she built out the painting, which I think makes sense for why it's so vibrant. I'm also curious about her use of acrylics for this series, because acrylics can have a brighter tone, can lend itself to a brighter, more primary, eye-catching tone, and she seems to really accomplish that in this particular painting. Pamela, anything else about Shield of the Nile?
No, not for me.
Okay, let's go to the next one, which is really beautiful. This is Shield of the Nile 2 that was done in 1984, and it's not nearly as large as the previous one, the Shield of the Nile, the first one in the series, but it really is very expressive. You'll see different elements here, Pamela. First of all, the water's very high, and she has this sort of sense of movement in the water because of the different colors. It's just not blue. She gives it a sense of energy that I know you'll be talking about later with respect to some of her paintings. That these bright colors, these contrasts of colors, uh, give energy, give various energy. Um, the so you have these two figures in the foreground, and you have two swimmers in the back. But I think this is fascinating because all the action is under the water. It's the action is beneath. It's like something you don't see from the surface. That she is, suggesting that there's something underneath what you can see. And you have these two women who one has a shield, Pamela. It looks as though she's, for battle. She's ready. She's ready for battle. You can see the straps on her forearm, and it's interesting how she painted the shield. Again, there's this concept of what you see above it, above the water, and what you see below it. And what you see above is muted compared to what you see below the surface, on how the water changes the perspective of what you see. And then you have the quiver and the arrows that the other figure has. Again, something for battle, being prepared for battle, or maybe being prepared to hold your ground.
Maybe for
Whatever. Oh,
protection, right?
hello.
It's for
Yes.
protection
Yeah,
and not
for protection, yes, for protection, exactly. It is, and it's interesting to me, Pamela, and if Miss Woodson, if you join us, please let us know. Um, what's interesting to me is the one figure is treading water to the right, and the other one is standing, and I'm wondering what the symbolism of that particular swimmer who's sort of uh, treading water. And then, Pamela, you have this amazing, inviting for us to project ourselves in
Can you hear me?
composition. Yes. Hi, Miss Woodson. How are you? Can you hear us? Oh, shoot.
right?
This is not a good commercial for AT&T. That's all I have to say. But
Right. I'm wondering if that image that you say is treading water,
yes.
is that image treading water, or is that image making its way to the one with the shield, coming together, connecting?
So you think maybe she's making her way over to that figure?
Could be.
And we know that Ms. Woodson has indicated that a lot of what she does is meant for individual exploration and interpretation. So that's as good an explanation. And also, she has the figures up front, and again, the featureless face that really helps to be inviting for one to project themselves into the picture. So we have the shell at the bottom, and we have more than one shield. Uh, yeah, right. And then to your right, there's that. Yeah, to your right, Kathleen. Yeah, is the shield with the X on it, which is again this concept of protection. Pamela, anything else with respect to that before we turn it over to you?
No, I will say this. Every time I look at one of Mrs. Woodson's painting, I always see something I didn't see before. So it's always evolving for me.
And I think her traditional uh, studies in Western composition and so forth seems to inform these because she's got a lot going on. There's many images, but it all seems to come together. There's
Yes.
despite the bright colors, despite the contrast and everything else, there's a wholeness to the composition. You know what I'm saying, Pamela?
And I think the bright colors make the images come alive. They almost make the images appear multi-dimensional instead of two-dimensional.
So you have some wonderful paintings to talk about too.
And I'm so sorry that Mrs.
I know. I would have loved to have heard her.
Questions.
I know. I would have loved to hear this, but I know, Pamela, that you have a interesting take on what's going on in this painting, Speakers at the Crossroads.
So I'm going to just relay my questions and hopefully she'll come online. Speakers at the Crossroads. First of all, it was so hard for me to make 3 selections out of the paintings that we had to choose from. But this title captured my attention and my emotions. Speakers at the Crossroads. So I would ask Miss Woodson, what inspired this image? How did it come into being? And now knowing that she paints the canvas with these vibrant colors before the image even emerges, I really want to know, how do they come into being? When does she select the title? Before, after, during, when? The color red is her favorite color, I understand, which is also my mom's favorite color. And I wanted to ask her that in this particular painting, red seems to dominate and anchor this image. The water, the Nile, is red. The background is red, is up at the top. Yes, Kathleen. Is that still the Nile, or is that the sky? But red seems to dominate, and I want to know why and what it represents in this particular image. And then, Ray, there are the women, the speakers. Are they elders? Who are they speaking to, I wonder? Are they imparting wisdom? Are they gathering as powerful women, making an agenda? Are they inspiring one another? And then I look at their dress. Each one is dressed in a different African outfit. What does this signify, these outfits? Do they represent different tribes or different cultures? Then there is the painting in the center.
Yeah.
Is that actually a portrait, or is that a mirror reflecting an image or reflecting the people who are there to listen? So there's just so much going on.
There's so much.
Shells, the 2 shells, the difference in size, in color. One is predominantly yellow. The other has a multitude of colors. Does that represent the different tribes or the multitude and differences in people? I mean, I wish she was on the line so she could answer.
Pamela, you're right. I mean, one can think, speakers at the crossroads. So crossroads usually means you could have a choice, right? That you can go one way or the other. And I would be interested, and maybe it's a personal interpretation of where these particular speakers are going. Is the red to enhance sort of an energy or an urgency to their message, or is it just in order to really frame the other figures and the other colors? All these are very interesting.
Yeah.
Why don't we go to the next slide?
Oh, she's not here. If she were here, I would say, before we move on to the next painting, I'm curious about the recurring icons in these images in this series. I'd like to unpack those, but she's not here. I wanted to know exactly what the fish represent and the shells, and of course, water. I think she addressed that a little bit earlier about water being regenerative, restorative, and transformative. Meeting at the crossroad is the second image I chose. Orange is my favorite color, and I love the vibrant energy it lends to this painting. We just talked about, Ray, what are the crossroads? What's the meaning? I asked.
Hey, Pamela, I understand that we're not going to get her back,
Oh,
unfortunately. I know. So why don't
I'm so
we, I
disappointed.
know. So why don't we just show the next work?
Um, I just want to say something.
Sure, go ahead, Pamela. I'm sorry.
Okay. I wanted to know what the crossroads represent. Do they represent direction, change, turning points, or challenge? Are the crossroads a means of reflection, exploration, communication, connection, or veneration? Who is meeting there at the crossroads? We see a young woman, at the bottom, and then in the center, an older woman. Are they having a conversation together? Are they meeting up? Is the older woman, how are they connected is my question. Or are they even perhaps the same, one and the same, a younger version of the older woman who is having a conversation with her younger self? And then the ring icon. Kathleen, can you? Yes. I remember reading that this ring was her husband's, and I wanted to know what the meaning, what the connection it has to this painting. Okay, and then we know that fish are an recurring icon in her paintings, but somehow in this painting it looks like the fish they're flowers, not fish. And I wanted to ask if that was an accurate perception. How, well, she's not here. If she were here, I'd ask, how is this piece important to community and society? And what message can one take away? Is there a connection between her process and the message conveyed by the image? Bold strokes, vibrant colors, and the figures. Okay, we can go on.
Pamela, I'm understanding that we're supposed to speed along here so we can wrap up because we're not going to have Miss Woodson, and it's such a shame. This is such a wonderful painting, and I know you had some wonderful questions about the iconography, the fish, the horse. What are these people talking about? And we have the face that has features, all very interesting aspects. Could we go to the last one, please?
It's the last one is on the screen. I'll be watching you, number 2.
No, I meant the last one in the series, the
Oh, okay.
September wave. Yeah,
All right.
unfortunately, we have to. I'm sorry, Pamela. I do want to. You and I have talked about how wonderful this particular painting is, and we actually do know the story behind this. It's called September Wave, and you can see the wave. There's all this energy. There's all this energy that is occurring in the painting. There's the yellow contrast of colors, just like you were pointing out, Pamela. There's the rush of the water, the large wave, and then you have this shell that is, shimmering. It's almost like someone mentioned it's like a tornado and so forth. So you have all this energy of the water, all this energy in the scene, and you have these male and female figures with faces to looking at each other. And we know that the inspiration for this painting is when she met her husband, Edsel Reed, in September 1965. Edsel Reed was a New York City gallery owner, and he was in Detroit, and he was visiting Miss Woodson's brother, Curtis, and Curtis had one of her watercolors in the in his apartment, and Etzel was just taken by it and had to meet her and one thing led to another, and this all happened in September of '65, and hence that wave, that energy, that how it is, Pamela, that coming together. We do have just a few much. We do have just Pamela. We're going back and forth. Let's go back to your painting. I'm getting
I'm good. I'm good. I know that we're at pressed for time.
Okay. All right. I know we have a few more minutes, but I wanted the audience to be able to appreciate these wonderful paintings. So we have this extraordinary exhibition. It's free at the DIA. You're all welcome. Yes, it's right off of Rivera Court. And as I was mentioning, many people come see it. There's 11 extraordinary paintings, and we hope to see you there. I do want to close with respect to Ms. Woodson with her statement. Quote, all the threads of my life have been about art and its ability to connect and create ways of showing the beauty, the history, and the necessity of all art, particularly Black art, which I think is a wonderful way to end.
I have a final comment, Ray.
Sure, absolutely, Pamela.
I absolutely loved this exhibition, and I'm honored to be a part of the conversation. I just wish Ms. Woodson, like you, were here. I'd like to thank her for her commitment to art and to her contribution to art in general, and for uplifting and supporting the community. It is indeed an act of love. Thank you so much, Ms. Woodson.
Well said, Pamela. Well said. Very nice. So next week on Thursdays at the museum, there's a film. It's called The Last Train Home, and it's part of the. It's a part of a documentary about people in China who migrate. It's the largest migration in the world for spiritual reasons. I understand it's fascinating, and it's about the human will, the human drive, the need for spirituality. So I encourage you all to join us again next week. We want to thank our producers, Amanda Harris, who probably doesn't have any hair left. And then Christine Mark. Christine, are there any final questions or comments that we need to share? Looks like we're good. Christine, can you hear me? Oh, well, okay. And in any event, we always thanks Christine Marks. And finally, Kathleen McBroom, who is our PowerPoint expert, and for her patience in putting together the PowerPoint and working with us today.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you, everybody. And
thanks for joining us.
Yes, and we're going to end a little bit early because of the technical difficulties. I apologize again for that. Thanks so much.
All right. Have a good week, everybody.